Today, we're going to talk about action RPGs that have been released from 2019 up to the first quarter of 2024. I'll sort the list from the oldest game to the most recent recommendations. Alright, let's dive into the list.
For adventure.
Released in 2019, Children of Morta is a fast-paced action RPG with roguelite elements. Unlike many other roguelite games, Children of Morta actually has a quite engaging storyline and narrative, making the game feel more alive. The gameplay itself is a lot of fun with various classes and progression paths. It incorporates typical roguelite aspects such as upgrading between runs and stages. The only caveat is the pixel graphics, which may not be to everyone's liking. Other than that, the game is an easy recommendation and even features local or online co-op play. We have another pixel action RPG on the list. Chronicon is an ARPG that is a very easy recommendation if you love Diablo games, especially the older Diablo 2. It has the similar elements such as loot, deep character progressions, and satisfying hack and slash combat. The game complexity even rivals other popular games such as Path of Exile and Grim Dawn. It may only have 4 basic classes, but each one has very unique gameplay and endless replayability. Even if you're not into pixel art, Chronicon may convert you into its amazing content and gameplay.
Welcome to the Ascent. Your indent on planet.
Now we have a huge difference in scenery. The Ascent is an action shooter RPG with an immersive cyberpunk world vibe and theme. The Ascent itself is the name of the mega company that recently collapsed, and you're caught in the chaos that follows. The game is actually an isometric shooter, with slight RPG elements such as the stats. It doesn't have procedurally generated dungeons and random loots, and the quests are rather repetitive. However, it provides quite fun and chaotic gunplay and immersive world if you love shooter in general.
If you have any friends, you can cooperate in online or...
I need you.
Unsighted is one of the most solid action RPGs in 2021 with its blend of 2D Zelda and Metroidvania. Instead of side-scrolling gameplay, it takes an isometric angle with a large interconnected world to explore. The best aspect of the game is its very fast yet smooth combat. Surprisingly, it also has good dungeon design and rewarding exploration. One of the unique aspects of the gameplay is the timer for each major NPC in the game and yourself. It might be anxiety-inducing at first, but it's actually implemented intelligently. Now we have an action JRPG, but this time we're playing in 2D side-scrolling gameplay. It's a nod to the golden age of JRPGs, but in Astlibra Revision, many of the elements are solid, especially the combat. It may look repetitive throughout the game, but I have never been so wrong. The gameplay is very satisfying, and with each chapter, they added new mechanics, so it never felt stale. It can be grindy at times, but it's well worth it. Lastly, it has an excellent story in JRPG trope, of course.
Dive into the world of Alrun with CJ, Guru.
Eiyuden Chronicle Rising serves as a prequel to the recently released JRPG-style game, Eiyuden 100 Heroes. If you plan to delve into the latter, immersing yourself in the prequel first is recommended. In Rising, the game provides an action-adventure RPG style for players to enjoy. The gameplay is relatively simple, both the combat and quests. Serving as an introduction to the larger world, playing this enjoyable game is a definite recommendation if you're anticipating the next title.
And fire. Master these 4 runes to unlock.
Dreadhunter is an isometric shooter with RPG elements that, while still in early access, shows quite a promise with its fun and fast-paced gameplay. In short, it's like Doom meets Diablo with hordes of enemies and satisfying shooting mechanics. However, it's not without its caveats. For instance, the game is rather pricey for its early access state and the overall duration of gameplay. I hope they add more content in the future, as the game is very polished and the developers clearly show their passion. As a sequel to the original Blasphemous released in 2019, The game improves a lot of aspects, especially in the gameplay. As a Metroidvania, there will be an interconnected world to explore, and in the sequel, it's designed so that you need mobility upgrades to access new areas. The combat is improved with mobility upgrades and the choice of 3 weapons, and even the boss fights are better. However, in terms of storytelling and atmosphere, some may prefer the first game. It isn't mandatory to play the first game, but it's highly recommended that you do so if you haven't.
This endless waiting.
Lunacid is a first-person RPG inspired by FromSoft games like Shadow Tower and King's Field, which are old-school PlayStation games. It has nostalgic elements and features more polished, less janky gameplay from the retro games era. The gameplay is quite simple and straightforward, and the game is designed for exploration. The world is crafted like a labyrinth or maze, encouraging players to take their time exploring its secrets. If you love the retro vibe, Lunacid is for you. Halls of Torment is a roguelite that feels like Diablo 1 or 2 meets Vampire Survivors. Despite its simplicity, the game offers more depth, including many unique characters, skills, an item system that can significantly alter characters, and smoother movement. It's the type of game that will make you sink hours into it with a lot of replayability, making it already worth buying. Even if you've played another Survivor game, Halls of Torment will still be able to entertain you with its improved gameplay. Ender Magnolia is a dark Metroidvania game that feels like the sequel to Ender Lilies, released in 2021. It's not a direct sequel, as the character you play is new and the game is set in the distant future. However, it certainly follows the aspects of Ender Lilies, such as the music, art, atmosphere, and gameplay. The gameplay is still solid, but it feels easier this time. Maybe because there's no contact damage. If you've played Ender Lilies, this game is an obvious follow-up. If you love Metroidvania and haven't played the original, you can try this one, or even better, both. Into the Necrovale is an action hack-and-slash RPG combined with roguelite elements. It's a dungeon crawler where you can customize various builds using item combos. The possibilities of builds you can try are pretty complex and can make you feel powerful. The gameplay loop is satisfying, and finding new item interactions is always exciting. You will choose between randomly selected rooms, each with its objective and item at the end. While the gameplay is fun and addicting, the quantity of content is still not that much as it's in early access. Secrets of Grindea is a pixel art action JRPG game that uses retro-style graphics and art while modernizing many other aspects. The combat is fast-paced, with various builds you can try, albeit it can get repetitive at times. There are 2 modes, Story Mode and Arcade Mode, where you can experience more straightforward and roguelite gameplay. Additionally, there is co-op with up to 4 players, which is very nice. It may feel slow at the beginning, but if you can get through it, the rest of the game is well worth your time. Last Epoch is one of the most recently released ARPGs, with many people expecting it to rival Diablo 4. Last Epoch strikes a balance between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile in terms of complexity. It's fun, easier to understand, and offers quite engaging mechanics. Each class feels powerful and viable into the late game, with subclasses that we can experiment with that are not overly complex like Path of Exile. The game has issues with the loot system though, as it doesn't provide interesting loot. The endgame could also be better. Nonetheless, the game is a solid, fun ARPG.
And unfathomed power.
Enshrouded is an open-world action RPG game with survival crafting elements. It surprises me that the classes, combat, and open-world crafting are seamlessly blended into a single game. All aspects are polished. It's not as if they sacrificed the fun, satisfying ARPG elements. The world is gorgeous and filled with quests, crafted locations, puzzles, and more. The building system is amazing, with no cost to rebuilding or destroying, encouraging creativity. There's a lot to cover, but for now, I'm sure this is definitely one of the best action RPG open-world games for 2024.
So you're teaming up. I see. You're all against me. Fine. Play how